Say man, it's the one and only Jamaican man with ism, brought to you by HoopSpace, and we bring to you PDX Business. Say man, it's the one and only Jamaican man with ism, brought to you by HoopSpaces, and we bring to you, present to you, PDX Business. This is the Portland Trailblazers installments of HoopSpaces, and I appreciate the opportunity to contribute a purist perspective to a wonderful game that we call basketball, but from Portland's point of view. And what I wanted to do now is recap you on what Portland has gone through this season with the ups and the things to learn from. There's no such thing as down if we keep fighting. Go Blazers. So what you're going to see in this first Miami Heat contest, we have a tendency of playing to our opponent. You will see that consistently throughout the film. You will see, based on the intensity of our opponent, we have matched that and we try to stay in it with them no matter how they play. But research shows that we play best when we play up and down and through Dame. At this point in the season, we were distributing the ball very well, getting great shots, and we were getting a rhythm together. Please note that Gary Payton II was out, so we didn't really have a true reflection of our defense. We just knew what schemes we wanted to run, and that led to a lot of opportunities in this first contest against Miami. And Miami's always a tough out because they play one way, they play hard, they play to the rim, and they create open shots based off the drive throughout post-ups with Bam and Jimmy Butler. So we had to defend that. And the thing is, with those weak side attempts to defend any sort of quick pass to the corner or drive attempt, we're always slightly undersized, as you can see with Anthony Simons at the rim offensively. He will also be that weak side defender defensively. And we experienced that with CJ, but we felt like at this time it was a fresh start and it was something to give time to look at. And that's what you're also seeing here. But as you can see, there's a lot of miscommunications on defense and transition, and that is basically what the game is played today. That weak side allowed for that dump down to be so because we had to commit to that pass at the top of the key, as you can see clearly. Again, weak side, you have Dame this time. I think that's Gabe Vincent just driving and shooting over that. We need to make that taller, and that was evident at this point in the season. But as a result of us staying in it, we are able to compete and play hard because that's what Miami does. And it's not quite us setting the tone, and I felt like that's something that stood out even in this first game. I believe we got the offensive foul there. See, good pop in the ball. Dame has just been on a tear all year. And at this time, he was still challenging the doubt that he wasn't as consistent as he has always been based on an abdominal injury, which is very, very difficult to come back from in the first place, let alone still have your explosiveness and still be able to contribute in a way that your salary commands. And he's doing that. And he did it here as well. Created a lot of shots that allow for the assist to work, as you can see with Anthony. And I noticed at this point that Anthony should probably be better catching and shooting versus creating his own shot. As you can see, he had a lot of runs throughout this film where he would go 3 straight makes at a time. And we just have to capitalize on that. I don't think at this time we realize that. At this filming, I believe that is something that is consistent if that's what we're going to do and give up that size on the weak side defensively. Again, weak side, we got Josh Hart, who is a dog, 6'5", though, very good rebounder, just been inconsistent with his jump shot this year so far, but he contributes offensively this game. That's a drive. We attacked our anchor defender, and that was also a question that came up later on this season with Nurkic and his viability. And by the time our next video here at PDX Business comes out, you should probably see some sort of change to our roster, if not at all. I don't think we're in the business of making a blockbuster trade since we traded CJ, but trading some auxiliary pieces, I'm not sure which. PDX as a whole, we've discussed it communally on Twitter. Please follow HoopSpaces on Twitter. Please follow Jamaica Man on Twitter. Check us out on AMP for live reaction. This is also during the filming of the Kyrie trade. If you want to hear my thoughts on that, please check out HoopSpaces on AMP. You can check that out via Twitter. You get the app there, if you will, and listen to us live like we would in our childhood on the radio, or if you would on a pod, just live reaction to everything going on in the NBA. And I'm a reflection of what Portland has going on. But check us out here. This will be uploaded to YouTube, so check out the HoopSpaces YouTube. This is PDX Business, but we have an assortment of different channels from Memphis to Brooklyn to Charlotte. So shout out to all the contributors that are bringing that content as well. Back to business. As you can see, again, they attack our anchor defender and bring him out the paint, which is something that we try not to do, although he is one of the highest cardio bigs. He gets the most minutes up and down statistically, despite the injury, despite his size. It's just inadequacies in his build and ability to be able to keep up for so long. It's just physics, if you will. At this time, Justice Winslow was available, and he contributed a lot of that playmaking that Trendon Walford is now doing. At taping, he had just had a good game. I'm not sure against who. I think they played the Hawks or something like that. Yeah, 21. And, he was able to score out of that playmaking. But when you have consistent shooters like Dame and Anthony and Short, you need someone to be able to facilitate the ball to both of them. And Justice at this time was that, while being a very solid weak side defender, a capable one, someone that if we did trade, it would be a loss because he fits a need. But if we upgrade it in height to strengthen the weak side in some sort of fashion, that's the key here. Upgrading the weak side allows for us to extend our defensive possessions and not do that foul. Because if we get beat, we're too short. If we are in the way and we can't contest, we're going to block. And we don't want to get put under the rim. So, it's the switch error. So they'll just continue to find that as a weakness. But what we do have is the ability to shoot in games, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the last play that made it seem like we didn't have this problem. Bucket. That didn't seem that Josh Hart didn't have a shooting problem at this time, and we felt like it was okay. We were on a run at this time. Moving forward, this is a game that I felt like was a progression. We've been losing a lot since then, and we have failed to transition that defensive deficiency that I described in the first video that was somewhat hidden from us able to stay in games with the jump shot, if you will. And I feel like we took that out of just competing against Golden State all those years. Whatever roster we have had or any team that has been good, we've always adapted to what the NBA has become. And we are definitely that, as you can see. We're going to get shots up. We're going to get great looks. We're going to move the ball. And we're going to continue to get to the basket. Also note that Dame Lillard, because he understands that he has to create some diversity in his scoring opportunities, is finishing in the 97th percentile at the rim this year after an abdominal injury and after people doubted and after people wanted him to go somewhere else to showcase his skill. But he continues to contribute to PDX, and we appreciate that. Also to note, Nurkic, despite his deficiency to move laterally post-injury and before injury, really, in front of the rim or extend it out to the free throw line and get back in a timely manner, he's been able to hit the long ball to contribute like Brook Lopez would in Milwaukee, and he's been providing that. Mind you, like I said, he's one of the top 10 bigs in cardio minutes in the NBA, so he's running, and it's not that he doesn't want to run. It's just, he is immobile in certain fashions. We continue to compete with this exciting team with Trae Young and Dejounte Murray. I don't know if Trae played this game, but Dejounte for sure did. He had 40 this night, and he's just basically a dribble driver that creates his jump shot from facilitating for others, which is pretty smooth of a game. He gives me flashes of Steve Smith in so many words. And they still have, I think his name is Bogdanovich, and he's able to contribute in that 2-3 fashion, create shots, and contribute off of the dribble as well. There he is again, creating off of the dribble. And again, the weak side does create deficiencies where if we have to scramble, it's also difficult because we're not able to extend in our reach in a timely fashion. And this has been a deficiency for some time. I just have to stress that. But we make up for that for Jeremiah as well. He's had an all-star-like season. At taping, the all-star pool has been filled and he wasn't selected, but Dame was. So shout out to him, salute to him. He's broken so many records also this year. And being top 75 don't sound so bad with the accolades that he's contributed, just being loyal to who he is. And, shout out to the letter O. And again, another deficiency error. We just can't stop the rebound at all. Just play what is down there. And Nurkic is down there. At taping also, Drew Eubanks is getting the majority of the big man minutes, and he is playing his heart out. Shout out to him. You'll see him more later in the last video. But I want to show the progression from us barely winning a game to being able to compete with an exciting team that's not giving no outs, contributing in a way that attacks our deficiencies, and we have to make up for it. At this time, Gary Payton is back. He was hurt for a lot of the season, a lot of the earlier parts of the season, and he was obviously getting back into his groove. And a lot of our deficiencies also made up because Jeremiah, like I said, was able to score in a fashion that he has been thus far this season, creating off of the dribble, hitting this shot where he doesn't bring it down. He keeps it right about eye level, and he just pops up for three that way. Gary Payton is taken after that. But a lot of our offense has relied off of Dame's ability to facilitate off of his scoring and Anthony's off-ball shooting, whereas if we can't get anything else out of that, Jeremiah, as you can see, is the outlet. And through that, we get the Nurkic. We don't necessarily put the ball on one particular area of the floor. We just have a flow-like offense in that fashion, and we get great off weak side looks, if you will, for everyone, as you can see, that puts us in position to stay in games. But what doesn't allow for us to hold leads, if you will, is the fact that we just can't defend in ways that keep the possession extended in our favor. It puts us in trouble in transition. That's just Deontay doing what I said he did. He challenged us at the rim. And Atlanta just continuing to contribute in a way that makes us small. A lot of teams see it in the NBA. People make up for that by attacking it, and they have millions of dollars invested in stats. And it just exposes us, and we just try to play through it, and I think that's something that needs to change in so many words. So we just continue to compete, and Dame has been doing this hesitation dribble thing this year where he's attacking, but it's somewhat of a start-stop type of dribble that keeps the defender on his toes, so he has different ways to contribute offensively. It's a first step, but it's more so like he's in gear and he's attacking the dribbler at the same time. I think it's an ingenious way of extending your career, but also being able to contribute defensively, which also is something that Dame isn't getting credit for. Nasir Little has also been out some time this year, but he's been shooting favorably well. And we are much better when we have both our centers, but at some points in times this season, one has been healthy, one has not been healthy. So we've been battling through those type of injuries as well. Again, that's John Collins down there, and our whole team's in the paint, and we can't do anything about it. But we contribute good offense that keeps us in games, if you will. The most important part about our contest with the Hawks, not only how we play defense and the best defense we can play against an opponent, is that we made shots, and you can't guarantee that you make shots every night, and that's just not a sustainable way of playing. But it's more so how we finished. In the first game, like I said, we finished off of a game-winning jump shot. Here, I feel like we execute and compete, make shots. Again, off-ball catch Anthony Simons. He needs to keep doing that. I think we're going to get fouled here. and finish the game the way that we probably should on any given night. This is why we're showing that here. Play good defense, get good shots. They compete, we continue to compete, but we finish the game here with free throws, okay? No need to contest. If we can finish the majority of our games like this with a sizable lead, we go to the line, finish like that, I'll take that over a buzzer beater any day. And that's probably how we should probably take it into the rest of the season. That's how we should compete the rest of the season. As well, this game here, we play a similarly athletic team, one of the best in the West in Memphis, and they're springy with a lot of talent. They're still discovering how to use it. But again, we match our opponent. We don't come in sluggish. A lot of our losses this year, we probably seemed sluggish, but we were filling out our opponent, allowing them to get their looks. And I think that played detriment to us being able to win long term. But Memphis, of course, is going to compete. They always like to get to the rim. They create possessions through Steven Adams and his pick and roll situation, just being a screener, a block of a screener, creative avenues and lanes for Desmond Bane and Ja Morant. We're just getting good offense here. They're allowing us to get to their back line, and we're able to exploit Jeremiah Grant there, which we do in the event that Anthony or Dame are getting their shots off. We keep him involved, Nasir and him involved through that backdoor cut, which, you know, you got to give Chauncey credit. He plays great offense as well as a coach at times. It's his late game execution that I can speak for PDX when I say that it's questionable. We question it, you know. I see what we're doing, but I feel like a lot of what he's trying to execute doesn't happen because of Dame having to be the last line of defense, for example. We change that, I feel like we could really see if it's something that's sustainable long term. We just make a tweak to the roster. We don't have Justice Winslow, but we do have Trendon Wofford creating looks for everyone and being a scorer at times. And I feel like that was a good matchup for Jaren Jackson as well this night. And in a lot of ways, we can match up because what we don't get credit for is, although we are short, a lot of our short guys have 40-inch verts. But in basketball, rule number one is you can't teach height. So yet and still, we'll get put in positions where we can't use that athleticism as compromise because we're underneath someone or we're in a position where if we move, we foul someone. But our offense has kept us in it a lot of the seasons. Like I said, with the Atlanta game, if we could play our defense like you see, get stops, get good looks, finish at the rim with our athleticism, and finish with the free throw with no chance of them coming back, that's a way that we want to finish. Or we continue to contribute and keep the pedal to the metal like Memphis is making us do now. And although you know Ja's going to get his numbers, Desmond's going to get his numbers, Jaren Jackson's going to get his numbers, you pursue yours and you play your offense while still compromising them for doing what they may want to do. But it's just tough to stop people at the rim if we don't have that length to contest first, Exhibit A, and defend second. If they don't see a reason not to pass that into the lane, they're going to do it. Shout out Desert Eagle, Drew Eubanks, a.k.a. the Shaq of Portland. Filling in for Nurkic being out until after the All-Star break. And I don't speak for many people in PDX, but there is a sizable population that feels like Nurkic should be considered to be traded if there is a slight upgrade that can be made respectfully to what he has done and his sacrifice for the team. But if we can get better in that fashion, that's something to consider, and not just to say, because on my platform I want to understand this hoop space is contributing the thoughts and perspectives of the populace, if you will. And it's about three. You know, you don't want to move Dame. You don't want to move Anthony. You kind of will if you have to. You don't want to move Shaden. But if you have to move like a Gary or a Josh Hart or a Nurkic, no disrespect, that's something that we have to consider, especially if we consider trading CJ to get better, because at all costs, given as though that Dame is approaching the all-time leader scorer for Portland, you want to make it worth it. You know, you want to be in the effort to win. And like I said, Memphis is going to make you compete. They get the steal there. We, again, are short short-handed in transition. Dame is not doing anything with his 40-inch vert in that situation. You don't want your best player in a situation where he could foul anyway, so you need to get that roll to someone so he can make a aspiring play instead of having to be assigned to that. So as we head into the third, I just want you to finally pay attention to us being in rhythm. We know what we want to do at this point, and sometimes we get stagnant by catching and shooting, and we get stale off ball. But for the most part, we get looks weak side to create possessions that allow for us to make up for our deficiency being short on the weak side defensively. If we don't get back a lot of the times, we're shorthanded, and a lot of the times when we lose, that's what happens. We had a terrible loss against the Lakers that I'd rather not show because it doesn't highlight what we do best. These 3 games do. But in that, we were up, I believe, like 25, and we end up losing that game because simply not getting back and allowing for the Lakers to get their showtime on, if you will, with non-shooters at that. Whereas that's not a problem. As you see that, you saw Gary Payton, he didn't bring it down, he brought it up, caught it, and let it go. It's kind of like what European bigs are taught to do in the paint. I like that we have guys that are working through their jump shots do that as well. But like I said, if we keep teams in the half court but pushing out pace, we're able to get the shots we want. That we get all the time in the half court mean more because we're getting them in transition. If we limit the possessions that allow for someone to size us up to, we are effective. But 3, if we're able to make some auxiliary trades that gets us taller on the weak side, and there has been talk of having Jared Vanderbilt on the roster at some point, but he is also in discussions elsewhere. So we'll see what Cronin does with that. But I think we had an exemption that we could have used with the Robert Covington trade for $6.5 million, if I'm not mistaken, that has expired at this taping with no moves. And PDX, we're more like a college of fans, if you will, that represent Portland. We really go by the book of basketball, and we really, speak amongst each other in an academic manner. And when it comes to just the whole team overall and the deficiencies that we have, we want to make pieces change, but we don't want to change the entire dynamic of the team. I think we're okay with Anthony Simons being the second in line. I think we are okay with the team getting better. We're okay with Drew doing things like this, and we're okay with keeping a variety of this type of energy. But I think more so than anything, we just need to get better on the weak side to be able to impact Dame's great numbers. He's averaged 40 at least 5 times this season. He's been the player of the week twice already as of taping. They had Milwaukee last night. But as I said, thank you all for just staying tuned and contributing to what we're doing here at HoopSpaces with ISM, if you will. And we bring to you PDX business. But last but not least, just remember, it's in you, not on you. ISM.